I pledge allegiance to this flag. And if that bothers you, well, that's too bad. But if you got pride and you're proud to do, hey, we could use some more.
Good afternoon, Colorado. Welcome back to Common Sense Radio. I am your host, Lana Fore, and in studio today we have some amazing folks, and I just want to kind of get right down to it. We've got Luke Baker and Samantha Sharp. They are in studio with us. They attend the University of Colorado at Boulder, and they're part of the College Republicans. And I have them on because we have a lot to discuss this hour in regards to what they go through and how they fit in as conservatives in the young population, I should say, sort of say. And then we also have in studio our special guest, and that is our state senator, Owen Hill, District 10. So welcome, Owen.
Thanks for having me, Lana.
Oh, you're so welcome. Owen is also a candidate for U.S. Senate here in the state of Colorado, and we are so excited. And, don't worry, as a disclaimer, I am the secretary for the Republican Party, and I do not endorse, so I'm going to allow every candidate running for a statewide race to come on the radio show if they should choose to do that. But I have invited Owen Hill here today because I want Owen just got an amazing endorsement. He got an endorsement from Ron Paul. And I just think with the college Republicans in studio who really admire Ron Paul and for what he stands for, I just think this was a really good mix. So, and Samantha wants to get into broadcast journalism and get into being a talk show host. And so I am so thrilled to have Samantha here in studio with us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here right now.
And we're going to kind of I'm going to turn over the show to you and let you kind of handle it because this is going to be so much fun. And Luke is majoring in economics, and he is just a brilliant, brilliant young man. I met him when I spoke up at CU Boulder, and these kids were just amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so thrilled that our country is in good hands with the future of what America is going to look like. When I'm old and gray and have no teeth and can't speak anymore, you guys are going to be running this country, and we're fighting so hard for it, and I'm just so grateful to have you guys here with us. So, Samantha, I'm going to kind of turn over the floor to you, sweetheart.
Okay, well, what do you guys want to talk about first today?
Come on, Luke. You start us off.
I'm up for anything, but Senator Hill, that's so awesome that you got endorsed by Ron Paul. What exactly is it in your track record that made him want to endorse you?
Luke, we were really excited about it, too. This is one of the most exciting moments of my political career. We have an opportunity here with our generation to carry on the torch of those who have gone before. Our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents have invested so much time and energy to give us the opportunity and the freedom we have today. And now it's our chance to carry on that torch, to bring new energy, to bring new ideas, innovation, and entrepreneurship into this movement for liberty, for freedom, for opportunity. I know Dr. Paul represents that, and it's fun for us to be able to carry that on and look forward to the time when we can hand that torch on to our children and our grandchildren.
That's sweet. And I saw you've been fighting for the Second Amendment a lot, too, in the recent past, haven't you?
We certainly have. The Second Amendment protects everyone's basic ability to stand up and protect themselves. As a military officer, I took an oath. I swore both at the Air Force Academy, then as an officer, and then as a state senator, that I would protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's the principal idea of liberty, and it's been said the Second Amendment is liberty's teeth, right? It gives us that opportunity for every individual to do that for themselves, whether it's my wife, my daughters to stand up and protect themselves when no one else can do it, or ultimately to make sure we have the chance to protect ourselves, whatever the future may hold.
That's awesome.
This is Kanda. I'm actually going to ask you because I saw a video on your website that you tried to reduce all the taxes or maybe get rid of all taxes on all food. Will you tell me a little bit about that?
Kanda, you bring up a great point there about taxes. The idea taxes need to be, in order for taxes to be effective, we know they're necessary, but we want them to be limited and we want them to apply fairly across the board. Unfortunately, the way food taxes work here in Colorado, they hit the poor and the working class harder than anywhere else. And when right now we don't have food taxes on food bought in grocery stores, but you still pay taxes on food taken out to eat. So now we're penalizing the single mom, or if their husband is deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan and she wants to pick her children up from school and go and grab Chick-fil-A on the way to gymnastics, we're penalizing her. We're taxing those who right now are hurt the most. This year in Colorado, we had $1 billion extra in tax income. What a perfect opportunity for us to be reducing now that tax burden on those who are hurt the most right now. So that was our opportunity to do it. Unfortunately, it failed on a party line vote, but we're actually going to bring it up again this year and continue to highlight the very regressive nature, the fact that it hurts those who are hurt most right now by a weak economy brought on by regulation and taxes. People like Mark Udall and John Hickenlooper and Barack Obama, who think they can fix it if they just can get the right smart people in the room and tell everyone else what to do.
It's like a Bloomberg tactic of let's just tax those big gulps and that will make them go away.
Literally in committee, someone said that's exactly how we were going to keep poor people healthier. One of my Democrat opponents said we were going to keep poor people healthier by taxing fast food. So it's tragic to see that these policies, again, are hurting those who are already hurting by the weak economy that we see right now.
Now, I wanted to ask with the young people in here, what makes you guys a conservative? So let's start, Samantha. What makes you a conservative? What drives you?
What drives me? I would say I wasn't really into politics that much when I was in high school. I would say my senior year, I had an economics and government teacher who really got me going. My parents never really spoke about politics in the house that much. They just kind of let me decide what I wanted to think about. And my teacher definitely was bringing up things that caught my eye, and it got me mad, and I started looking into things more. And I realized a lot of the media, they lie, and a lot of it's completely biased. And I'm really fascinated with Middle Eastern politics, and I saw a lot of lying with that, especially. And I think that that drove me to hold conservative values in certain ways, definitely.
Oh, awesome. Now, Middle Eastern, meaning, okay, so I don't know if you, I'm sure you don't know, I lived in Cairo, Egypt for most of my childhood.
Wow.
And my dad worked for oil companies, and so he flew the guys to the oil rigs, which took us to Cairo, Egypt. So I lived in Heliopolis, which is right outside of Cairo, for most of my life. So I grew up in a Muslim country where it was a very different atmosphere and culture, but I learned to respect every culture because it taught me my values, and I am so strong in my Christian faith. How did that happen? Why when being raised in a Muslim country can that happen? It was my parents. They instilled the balance for me, because in the Muslim countries, you hear the mosques going, 5 times a day. So it's really important. You said Middle Eastern because that's where kind of everything is kind of falling, is in that place. Luke, you had talked about civil liberties, which was important to you. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sort of my hot button issue, as we talked about earlier, is the Second Amendment. 2 years ago, I joined the NRA when, everyone was starting to go after our gun rights. And I'm really happy to be a part of that. And honestly, just as far as we were talking about earlier, why I'm a conservative, I'm just so against big government and them reaching into my pocket and taking money out of my paycheck for programs that aren't even going to be around when it's time for me to collect on them. I worked over the summer just bussing tables and stuff. And every month I would get my paycheck, and there was money pulled out of there for all sorts of things that aren't even going to be around anymore. And that kind of sucked. And also, those guys I was working with at the restaurant, everyone's working 4 part-time jobs because the employers are getting ready for Obamacare. They're starting to hire part-time guys. So instead of working in one place full-time, there's all these people working all these part-time jobs, driving around. It's just not efficient. So I'm against the government, getting into our pockets, getting into our businesses. I just really think that they should be out of that stuff.
Listen up, Colorado. Listen to what these guys are saying. Government is not your daddy. I don't know how many times I have to say that over and over. Just today on Facebook, I was talking to this gal. She is a single mother of 3 kids, and she does not take any government assistance whatsoever. She works full-time and raises her kids full-time. And you know what? Her 3 kids just got taken off of their health care. 3 kids. So it is almost forcing her to become dependent on the government. It's forcing her because that's what their entire plan is to become dependent on the government. We can't live without them. And this is why we need to push back. Enough's enough. Limited government is what we need. You guys are there to do a certain thing. And Owen, you brought up something really great at a meeting that I was at, and you were there. You were talking about what the role of the federal government is, being that, isn't it like 18 things they're supposed to be doing? And of course, they're in everything.
Right. Can it, Lana, I'm looking at you, Ken. I'm over here. Lana, the important thing to recognize here is our founders set forth a constitution, and we know this in our own homes, though. The idea they had was the more you consolidate power, the more you have one group of people making decisions for everybody else, the harder it is to actually manage that well. And so they took a very practical approach and said, we're going to outline the things the federal government can do. It's called enumerated powers. There are 18 of those. Everything else is given to the states. The idea was now we have these states who are able to figure out what's the best blend of government, of business, small business, big business, public-private partnerships, you name it. Let's have a bunch of different experiments to figure out how best do we promote human flourishing? How best do we promote strong communities? How do we take care of those who need help, taking care of people? As well as how do we promote business, entrepreneurship, innovation, these ideas that are going to continue to provide opportunity for generation and generation to come. And the more we have a one-size-fits-all policy coming out of Washington, D.C., telling us all what to do, we don't get to have that competition between the states to say, you know what, this gives my kids the best opportunity going forward. This best fits my lifestyle. This best allows me and my family to do what we were made to do. So that's exactly right. The federal government protects those freedoms, gives it back to the states, but we've seen a reversal of that. Now we're seeing the federal government telling everybody what to do, one size fits all, and we've got to turn that back on its head. We've got to give those power back to the people, back to the states, if we're really going to see a recovery from the mess we're in.
So kind of like the 10th Amendment. Let's stand on our states' rights and stand on what we believe in what our state wants. So we're going to be actually going to a break. We're going to come back to this discussion because this is so important for us to come back and talk about states' rights. That's a good one. Let's talk about states' rights versus the federal government and what we need to eliminate. So we'll be back after the break and pay a few bills. Alrighty, and we're back. We were just talking in this last break and about ourselves, and we were talking about, does the government... Okay, we were talking about states' rights, and then we were talking about messaging, and we were thinking, do we talk about messaging? And then Senator Hill said something really awesome. He said it's about people. So, Senator, can you tell us what you were talking about?
Well, sure. Maybe I'd take it a step further from states' rights and say, no, this is about giving power back to states and back to people. It's not just about the rights, but how do you empower people? You see, the success of America has always been about individuals, families, communities bringing their own unique ideas into the marketplace and making their communities better off. You can't do that from the top down. You have to empower individuals to let those innovative ideas come forward. And that's where the messaging has to go. As a Republican Party, we're missing out. We talk too much about policy, forgetting the reason we care about these policies is because they're policies designed to empower people. And if we're serious about reaching out to young people, we got Luke and Samantha here who, quite frankly, don't look like Republicans. And
no.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It is. It's awesome.
Fun to be here and say, it's not about what you look like. It's not about the color of your skin, how old you are. It's not about your sexual orientation. It's not about any of these things. It's about your own ability to take your God-given gifts and talents in and make the community better off. That's what we need to be talking about. That's the opportunity we need to be focused on. And then we don't have to worry about demographics or any of this other stuff. Let's just talk about the truth, and let's talk about the way going forward. That's freedom and opportunity.
That is amazing. Samantha, Kanda was just saying, Samantha and Luke, they don't look like your typical Republican walking down the street.
Yeah, people see me and they say, blonde hair, blue-eyed, oh, must be a Republican. They have no idea anything about me, but they assume it. When I see Samantha and Luke, I look at them and say, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know that, and I definitely wouldn't put him in the category of Republican. So what heritage are you actually, Samantha?
I'm actually just mostly European, Russian, German. Polish, Scottish, French, British. Oh,
Typical mutt.
yeah, typical mutt. But my skin color definitely is tanner. So people thought I'm Persian, Hispanic of any sort. So no one suspects I'm Republican, which kind of is cool. I can kind of disguise myself, and I fit in everywhere. So it's perfect.
Oh, great.
And Luke, he looks like the hipster, like really cool.
Shirts tucked out.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you become a Republican?
Well, honestly, my grandpa is like a big libertarian. The kind of guy that kind of goes on political rants a lot. We've all got one in our family.
That would be me.
Yeah, that'd be me.
So he taught me a lot. Just staying up late talking politics with him and with my dad. I don't know. I was just kind of like raised into it, I guess. My whole family is just really conservative. And I'm probably more libertarian than either my dad or my grandpa. But, I like voting Republican, so...
Well, we face facts. I mean, do we vote Republican because we trump principle over party? How does that whole thing work out? And I tend to lean a little bit more libertarian than I am, but I've been a registered Republican since I was 18 years old. And if we remember Ronald Reagan, he said that the Libertarian Party is the backbone of the Republican Party, and we need to embrace if we're going to win, because we believe in the free market and limited government. And what about the social issues? What do you guys face that in school? How does that happen to you guys in school?
I would say, people, I think what really characterizes people when they say, oh, I'm liberal, oh, I'm democratic, they really just think of the social issues such as gay marriage and abortions. They don't consider economics, and I don't really think that they're aware of what's going on. And I definitely, if I say I'm Republican, people automatically assume, oh, I'm not a nice person because I don't agree on certain social issues. And I think that that's absurd, because I do hold different views than most Republicans regarding gay marriage and abortions. But, it's just, I think the whole thing with most younger people that are Democratic, they characterize Republicans as very evil, and they don't look into it further, and I think that's a very big thing going on right now, is that people are lazy and they're not doing their research and they're not looking at the news. They're just looking at maybe one news channel. I think it's actually really good for everyone to look at, okay, let's look at MSNBC and let's look at Fox. Let's analyze the differences. What are you learning from one station? What are you learning from the other? What's one missing out on the other? Open your eyes.
And Luke, with you, when people come up to you and then all of a sudden they say to you, "Are you a libertarian? Are you a Republican?" How do you convince a friend who happens to be like, "No, I'm voting for a Democrat," or "I'm voting for Obama. I agree with Obamacare"? I mean, what do you say to those people?
Well, I immediately just like to go back to like the civil liberties type issues, because everyone agrees on that. Everyone agrees that you should be allowed to do what you want with your own life, that sort of thing. And also, if you go to economics, I found that like every single one of my friends, especially even the liberal friends who vote for Democrats, they are actually fiscal conservatives, and they just don't realize what they're voting for. So I try to have that conversation with them and show them, you know what, you're voting for these guys who are just taking more money out of your pocket. And like I go back to how the Republicans are both going to like cut their taxes and fight more for their civil liberties, and it kind of opens their eyes a little bit. But it's an uphill battle because people they don't pay attention to the news. They don't know what's really going on.
Luke, go ahead.
I would love to jump on that. You bring up an important point that we've driven so many people away with polarized news media from actually engaging on a lot of these issues. And there's a huge opportunity for us here. It's called relationship. We live in, unfortunately, a dehumanizing world, and technology has pulled that opportunity for relationship out of so many different areas of our lives. And here's where we can step back in and really talk in the context of relationship about how limited government, conservative values actually promote the individual. They promote the chance to have these relationships. No one wants to be told what to do. I don't care what your age is, no one wants to be told what to do. And within the context of those relationships, we can show that not only are we not scary, but these ideas empower us to genuinely care about every individual. Again, regardless of what you look, sound, feel like, how old you are. That's our chance going forward to really rebuild a foundation upon the ideas you mentioned, Luke. So I'm really excited for our future here.
I am too. I'm telling you, when I spoke at CU Boulder, that room of you guys were just amazing. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there because when you're walking through the campus, it wasn't like that when I was in school. You know, it was we were a little bit more conservative, but in today's schools, it's a little different. And when I got to your class, and I just went, wow, this is the future of America. And I'm so thrilled. Back to what Senator Hill was saying, as Ann Luke was saying, you know, really quick, the City of Champions. I know Kanda have brought that up in previous shows, and we're going to talk a little bit more about City of Champions in future shows. But that is an ultimate proposal about how government versus private sector, and how private sector is what causes jobs, what makes jobs, not the government. And right down the street, we have that World Arena, which is amazing. We have concerts there and all kinds of things there. And now they want to build an event center. It makes no sense. When we come back, we're going to be going to a break here in a little bit. When we come back, we have a new segment, and it's called Canda's Corner. And Canda's going to kind of give us a little update on things that are happening around our areas, what's happening with different bills and issues that are coming up. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things. But in the meantime, we're going to come back to the college Republicans and talk more with them about things that what they see that they want to do. So what do you guys want to talk about when we come back?
Foreign policy, anything?
Yeah, that sounds good. Foreign policy, and maybe just like how classes are being in a very liberal school, I'd say.
Ooh, that'd be a great one. Yeah. And then Senator Hills.
Let's talk about healthcare. It's a big deal. It's on everyone's
yes.
mind.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's do that.
Welcome back to Common Sense Radio. I'm Samantha Sharp. I just want to mention one of our sponsors, Indoor Shooting Range and Tactical Style Firearms Training from the Whistle Pines Gun Club. Their phone number is 719-597-3456. For a limited time, you can get a concealed carry case for $99, which is usually $125. So give them a call, 719-597-3456. And I have Kanda coming up right now.
Well, this is Canda's Corner, a new segment, and I'm going to be discussing Proposition AA. Tuesday is the last day to cast your ballot for this election, and we've already discussed that Amendment 66 is a no vote. Today I'm going to tackle the marijuana tax. There's been a lack of discussion on this proposition. I think it's time we talk about it, and I want to talk about it from the family values perspective. As a mother, I don't want my children to have manners through dictating and lecturing. I want my children to have a kind heart and to have manners as a natural result of that kindness. A child that is told to do something but doesn't accept it into his heart as a moral compass will not make good decisions when faced with temptation. Arming my children with that internalized set of values is their best defense against any of the ills in society. It's time we took this value to the polls. When reading about the marijuana tax, I can understand that natural instinct as a mother to think, get rid of drugs, and if taking taxes and taking them to the taxes and getting rid of them, and this is going to solve the problem, so be it, let's do it. The problem is, it never works to tax something out of existence. This is where we have to separate our emotions from the facts. Take cigarettes, for example. Cigarettes have been taxed extensively in states and localities throughout the country since the 1920s. New York City has led the charge. Big shocker there. As of 10 years ago, so you can imagine what it is today, $3 in taxes were added to every package of cigarettes sold. The reason for these taxes was to raise revenues and promote public health as an ancillary benefit. The same premise is being used today for the taxation of marijuana. Proponents of this tax state that it will lead to less usage of marijuana and will get a lot of revenue for the state. In the case of cigarettes in New York City, a black market has been created as a result of these ever-increasing taxes. This black market has created strong crime syndicates resulting in the death, harm, and fear of law-abiding citizens. In fact, former New York State Governor Malcolm Wilson described the city as the promised land for cigarette bootleggers. So let's think about that a second. You vote to tax something out of existence, but instead You create more threats to your family, whom you wanted to protect through the increased taxation. Let's look at it a different way. You really like that we can create more revenue for the state of Colorado from something that harms people's health and is something you don't want your kids to be exposed to. So what was witnessed in New York City when they increased taxes on cigarettes? After a certain point of taxation, the revenue began to decrease substantially. In a 1-year period, sales of taxed cigarettes fell by more than 50%. Do you really believe that 1 out of every 2 cigarette smokers in New York City actually stopped smoking? Or is it more likely that those smokers began purchasing off of the black market, ultimately reducing the amount of revenue gained by the city and contributing to organized crime? This is organized crime, folks. These are the ones who will murder, kidnap, take people by gunpoint just to protect their market. Now, there may be some of you who don't believe that this tax will create a black market, that this tax will only bring about a positive result controlling the substance now that it's legal. That's where it's very important that we look at the wording used in the statutory proposition. It states that the first $40 million will go to public school capital construction. Those of you who heard our discussion on Amendment 66 will understand that any more funding being given to anything regarding public schools is a shell game for teachers' unions. Beyond that, our public schools are no longer accountable to the parents, but instead are subjects of special interest groups that are using our kids to become pawns in a war for the heart of our country. Next in this proposition, the marijuana tax proposition states that another 10% sales tax will be added on to the 15% excise tax, and that sales tax will be used to grow government. How will it grow government? It will monitor the sale of marijuana. How has monitoring and regulating cigarettes and alcohol worked out? It's merely grown government with no accountability, and kids are still obtaining these substances. Is this just another unenforceable regulation that the money will never cover the costs of trying to keep marijuana out of the hands of organized crimes and kids? The wording on this ballot continues by stating that the marijuana tax can be increased or decreased without approval by the taxpayer. Ultimately, this circumvents and weakens the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, known as TABOR. We do not want to set a precedent of taking away the power of the people and giving it to politicians and bureaucrats up in Denver, especially when it concerns our hard-earned dollars. What's worse is the last 3 lines of this proposition makes it sound, and remember, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't speak in mumbo-jumbo, but the last 3 lines make it sound like the politicians and bureaucrats get to decide whatever they want to do with the money, as long as they deem it legal. Here are the exact words. And with the resulting tax revenue being allowed to be collected and spent, notwithstanding any limitations provided by law. Do we really trust politicians and bureaucrats to do whatever they want? Remember the gun laws this past legislative session? So what I'm asking for is not only for all you listeners to consider voting no on the marijuana tax proposition AA, but for you to say yes to taking back control of our society by not abdicating our responsibility for governing our communities, but taking the initiative to safeguard our community and our families through civic involvement, parental influence, and participation, and keeping government in check. And those are my considerations in Canda's Corner.
Thank you, Canda. What an incredible summary. So quickly, in Common Sense News, guys, in the latest edition, we have a article on Proposition AA, and it's in Common Sense News. So make sure you go to our website, commonsensenewsusa.com. That's commonsensenewsusa.com. Get your subscriptions. Call our office at 719-302-1900, and call us with all of your and don't forget to email Ann. And would love to get your emails. And it's editor at commonsensenewsusa.com.
And his heart belongs to that sweet little beautiful, wonderful, perfect all-American.
And we are back. I just wanted to give a shout out to Douglas County. They're out there walking hard today. Winning with Women is out there. And a whole bunch of different coalition groups have come together because the Douglas County race is so crucial. We have to win Douglas County. We have to win with our conservative candidates down there. So let's give a shout out to Douglas County. If you can get down there and help walk, please do. I'm told to go to the Holiday Inn up on the top floor of the suite, and they'll get your walking lists and start walking. And that's where I'm headed after I leave the studio today. We wanted to get into healthcare. We wanted to get into foreign policy. So let's actually turn the floor over to Luke. And Luke, you kind of bring us up to speed on foreign policy and your concerns about that.
Well, right now, honestly, I just feel a little bit embarrassed as an American with the way our foreign policy is going. We've got the president putting a red line on things, and he doesn't actually mean what he's saying. And I'm not sure exactly what we should have done in Syria, but we probably shouldn't have put a red line on that if we weren't actually going to go in there. Also, you had the thing in Benghazi. It's just a little bit embarrassing. There seems to be a real lack of direction, not really any clear foreign policy goals. And I'm not an expert on foreign policy, but all I'm saying is, man, we really should establish ourselves and have a plan.
Luke, you bring up some important points there, and as a military officer, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I have many friends who are that are away from their families right now, fighting on these very issues, protecting our interest, and ultimately our foreign policy is failing because we don't have direction from the top. We have Barack Obama and the Senate giving him permission, the Democrat-run Senate giving him permission to go out there and grandstand and have no substance behind it. And anyone who's a parent out there, anyone who's on a sports team knows you can't go in there all bluster and all talk and not have any substance behind it. And that's really the weakness we see right now. As a result, the rest of the world is looking at the United States of America and saying, these people are jokes. They don't know what they stand for, and that ultimately that is pulling down our reputation, not just worldwide, but our credibility for leadership domestically as well.
And I completely agree with that, Owen. I think that what we just talked about, I think that it has made us look weak to the international community, and I think that being the United States and being one of the most powerful countries in the world, we really need to, withhold that. And specifically speaking, with Iran's nuclear weapons development, I think that our sanctions have not been quite effective. I think that we need more. We need to be involved more. I think that we're just kind of delaying them, but they're still doing it. They're still going to do it, and they're going to reach that goal eventually. And I think that's a very, very scary idea. And people are not aware of this. People don't know, and it's scary.
Samantha, I was in the grocery store the other day, and there was about a 6-year-old boy there standing in line, and he kept pulling the candy off the shelf there in line, and his mother kept telling him no. And she said, "Don't make me count to 3," and she would count to 3, and he would keep doing it. Right? This
Was
is the
that
exact
me?
problem. I was standing there. I was sitting there thinking, this is the exact problem we have in foreign policy. We have someone standing up there supposedly in authority, but is not respected by anyone worldwide. This is the 6-year-old in the candy store is unfortunately a great example of our foreign policy problems right now.
Wow. I want to get into healthcare. That's been a huge thing, and I put on my Facebook page yesterday was a kind of a funny thing. I put on there, should I call the 6 people who got Obamacare or call the 93 million that got it theirs canceled? What would be my best shot there? And everybody, of course, said the 93 million. Talk to me from your perspective as young adults. What is your perspective on the healthcare? You guys are healthy. Do you want healthcare?
Well, I just personally, like with the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare, America had like the greatest healthcare system in the world, and people from all over the world who could afford it would come to America seeking treatment, whether that was to escape death panels in their countries, people deciding if they were going to get funding for their own treatment. So they didn't want to deal with that in their country, so they would come here. And now our own American healthcare system is going down that slippery slope, and we're going down that same path. And it's kind of scary. It's like, you know what? Where am I going to go for healthcare if that happens to me? It just sickens me.
Yeah, me as well. I mean, Obama promised that we would be able to keep our plans, and that's not happening for most people. And as well, what I recently found out, this is true, right? That Obama and Congress are exempt from Obamacare.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so the Constitution says, you make a law, it applies to the land. The law, it's a law
Amendment
of the land.
28.
Right. So thank you, Obama, for violating the Constitution.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
horrible.
I'm going to have it, but you're not. And all of you little people out there, you're not exempt. You must do it, but I'm exempt from it and I don't have to. But how many times did we hear the clips over and over and over? Obama stating at every single campaign stop, what did he say? You will keep your insurance. If you like your insurance, you will keep your insurance. If you have private this, you will keep that. If you like your doctor, you will keep your doctor. 93 million Americans are out of health care. That is insane. If there's not an outrage, I don't know what else we need to do. I don't know what else we need to say. Senator Hill?
Lana, you bring up a good point, and the Democrats shut down the government over this issue. They refused to say not only are we going to delay the individual mandate, but Republicans put forth an idea, a bill to get the government back on track and just saying this law is going to apply to everyone. And Mark Udall and Harry Reid voted to keep their own subsidized plans instead of starting the government back up. So that's driving the whole issue. But it's important for us as Republicans to recognize the real debate here should not be about health insurance. It should be about health care. And Luke and Samantha, you all mentioned it. Everyone, all 313 million people in the United States wants good health care. But Democrats have turned this to be an issue about forcing people to have health insurance. It's as if you and I came and we couldn't get from Colorado Springs to Denver because we don't have a car, and they say they're going to solve the problem by coming out and forcing everyone to buy automobile insurance. Mm-hmm. Insurance is not what we're after. Transportation is what we're after. Health insurance is not what we're after. Health care is what we're after. And if we're serious about good health care, we need this continuing innovation, new opportunities to solve the real issues plaguing health care today, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's cancer, whether it's diabetes, whether it's obesity. That's where we need the innovation. And unfortunately, Obamacare is stifling all opportunities to actually solve the problems. It's just a way to hopefully throw money at it after it's broken. We need to incentivize people to live healthy lives and empower those that choose to do it.
I think right now the population in America is seeing that Obamacare is bad. Saturday Night Live, their first skit this last weekend was all anti-Obamacare. And I don't like promoting the Denver Post, but they do these polls. And there's a poll on, do you think President Obama misled Americans when he stated that those who liked their health insurance plans would be able to keep them under the Affordable Care Act? And 79.73% of people out of 5,200 people voted yes. He did. He misled us.
See, it's unbelievable. We're going to be going to a break in just a few minutes, or actually in a few seconds. And when we come back, we're going to continue this discussion because this is important. Healthcare needs to keep going. If you have not seen The Christmas Candle, you need to go see it. It comes out in theaters on November 22nd. And the way to go, you can actually contact Christmas Candle at echolight.com. And you can watch the trailer. It's just an amazing movie. And if you have not seen it with your whole family, you need to go see it. It's The Christmas Candle. And we are back to Common Sense Radio. I want to give a shout out to Intermountain Media. They're running a special right now, $39 business cards. $39 business cards. That's 1,000 business cards, front and back, full color, 14-point cardstock. Okay, can I say that any faster? Anyway, you can call them at 719-302-1900. We're going to continue the talk on healthcare and healthcare versus health insurance. Good healthcare or insurance. Just talking about the website too. It's under maintenance. I think it was on the top of the hour. Fox News just said that the Obamacare website is under maintenance for tonight. And it'll be back up tomorrow. Okay. So, it was a $623 million website. Give me $623 million. I'll make sure you have a great website. This is insane. And it's, I guess, out of Canada. It's not even done here in the United States. So that's even better. So, Luke, healthcare versus health insurance.
Senator Hill had some really awesome things he was saying about that. I'd love to hear more of his thoughts.
That's okay. We're referring back to Senator Hill.
And as young people, this is especially important to us. As we recognize, now is when we are making the choices and the habits that are going to affect us for a long time. What we have to do is we have to empower people to make those healthy choices, to make those choices where they can be rewarded long term. Just like with a good driver discount, just anywhere else where real insurance happens, we need to empower people to make the right choices. Unfortunately, what we have is a system where it takes from the healthy and redistributes to the poor or redistributes to those with poor health, without any real notion of solving the root problem. And the root problem here is, how do we give people the chance to live healthy lives? Again, as we talked about early on, conservative values, Republican values, are about helping people. It's not about helping special businesses, helping large health insurance companies. How do we help people be healthier? And we're not helping anyone be healthier by taking money from the healthy and just trying to fix a problem after it's already broken.
That's right. I mean, this whole Obamacare, it's so unconstitutional. The entire thing, mandating insurance, period. I mean, you're forcing someone to do something they don't want to do. It's just like me. I've said this 100 times. I bought my car. I paid for it. The government didn't. If I don't want to wear my seatbelt, I'm not going to. But the thing just keeps beeping and beeping and beeping until I put my seatbelt on. It irritates me because they're forcing me to. Now, I get that. It's to save my life. Okay, fine. But if I don't want to wear it, I'm not going to. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Owen, how can people get a hold of you? You're running for U.S. Senate. How can they get a hold of you and go to your website?
They can go on that wonderful invention of Al Gore's, the internet. And owenhill.org is a great opportunity. We work to personally respond to all the emails we do receive. We spend a lot of time, Lana, going around and talking to people, because if we don't change the focus of the Republican Party right now, if we don't shift it away from just thumping the table and talking about policy to really highlighting the ideas, how do we promote innovation, entrepreneurship for the future? There's a fascinating study. When you look at the last 15 years, we've lifted 1 billion people out of poverty worldwide. And it's not because of aid, and it's not because of charity. It's because of capitalism. Capitalism and free enterprise gives people the ability to take their God-given gifts and talents into the marketplace to make themselves, their families, and their communities better off. And if we're serious about helping people in the next 15 years, the best thing we can do is promote the engine of capitalism, innovation, freedom, entrepreneurship here in the United States.
Oh, Owen, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for being a part of the show. owenhill.org for people to get in touch with you. He is currently our state senator running for U.S. Senate. And Owen, we're just so grateful to have you in studio with us today.
I'm just excited to have Luke and Samantha here. What an encouraging time to have a new generation.
Luke and
leaders.
Samantha, thanks for being on the show. Candace, as always. But Luke and Samantha, if you guys, just email us and we will get emails to these guys because they're just amazing. Come back. Can you please come back again?
Yes, I'd love to.
We'd love to have you guys back on. This has been great. And we'll see Candace next Saturday as we bring you back 2 to 3 next Saturday. We're going to be bringing you all kinds of information. City of Champions, the D38, what is it?
Palm scanning.
Oh, the palm scanning, biometric palm scanning. We'll see you then.
Just your intelligence. News Talk 1460, KZNT, Colorado Springs.